Welcome to a new Team CGC 9.8 video. And before we get started, if you enjoy comic books, if you like comic books a lot, or maybe just every day you want to maybe hear someone rant about comic books, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And just at this early stage, it's every subscriber helps so much, so I'd so appreciate it if you did subscribe. But getting down to business today, I wanted to share with you one of my more unique comic books out of my collection. Yeah, it's a book I bought about late last year. I purchased this book, and I wanted to add, something eclectic and unique to my collection. Just because most of my collection is like, I say kind of, the core superheroes, Batman, Spider-Man, and Star Wars. I like to stick to those iconic brands most of the time. But I wanted to find something rare, something hard to find, and just totally unique to add to the collection, and I definitely think I did. So yeah, I ended up purchasing late last year this Vampire Tales number 6 in the CGC 9.8 white pages. And yeah, I just checked the census like an hour ago to make sure, but this is the only 9.8 in the world, and there's no 9.9s or 10s either, so this is the highest graded copy of this issue in the world, and the only highest graded copy of it in the world. So that's super cool to have. Any comic book that's a one of one, any collectible that's a one of one, I think, at least it will hold its value. And a lot of times with a one of one collectible, they're so unique and it's such a niche item. For example, you're not going to find like any Spider-Man comics that are one of one from the 70s at all. This one being made in 74. But yeah, this comic book's so unique, and doing some research, I just thought it was kind of the perfect addition for what I wanted to get from my collection. This issue features Lilith, who's the daughter of Dracula. It's not the first appearance of Lilith, but it is her first solo story. And I checked the Overstreet price guide, and it says it's the first solo Lilith story. So yeah, some of those appearances before can be thought of sort of cameos maybe, and this one being maybe the first full Lilith. But it's certainly her first solo story. And yeah, in the Overstreet guide, as far as Vampire Tales goes, the first issue and the second issue are the main keys. And then sort of the other issues are not keys. But this one is brought up. It's like $10 or $20 more than some of the other issues like before and after it. So I would say it's kind of like a minor key. And yeah, and just how obviously like female superheroes are becoming bigger and bigger, and for good reason. So I think that's, when I did purchase it, I was kind of had that in the back of my mind, how big some of the female superheroes are. Yeah, so another cool thing about this issue, besides that it's like so rare, it's so hard to find. I mean, basically you can't find it now because I have it, being a one-of-one gem, which is just cool to even say that I have something that's a one-of-one. But this features early writing work from Chris Claremont and Doug Moench. So Chris Claremont from X-Men, obviously, did a bunch of X-Men issues. That's what he's as well known for. And this being, 1974, one of his early works. And Doug Moench, he's the creator of Moon Knight, and also did a lot of Batman comics. He actually created Black Mask, which is one of my kind of favorite Batman villains. And yeah, so you get early work from some of these iconic writers. Yeah, also too, there's Pablo Marcos art and Alfred Alcala art, and I've heard of them. I've seen them on some Batman issues from the 80s and 70s as well. So kind of cool to have a lot of these writers and artists from, superhero artists and writers doing something different and something early on in their career. So yeah, obviously a one-of-one item here. It's a Marvel book, so yeah, Marvel was the publisher of this book. And yeah, talking about prices. Now, yeah, for a one-of-one item, and obviously, it's not a superhero, it's not something that's gonna, pop up in like search results or anything. So yeah, I purchased this last year from probably one of the better buyers in Canada. And if you haven't heard, his name's Douglas Salipa, and he's on eBay. It's his initials. His business name is Doug Salipa Comic World. So it's DSCW on eBay. And if you live in Canada and you sort of want access to a lot of great books within Canada, and not kind of bring them over the border and stuff like that, definitely check out his YouTube channel. He's got a lot there. But I purchased this from his store, and it was $290 US. So that's putting in about $350 Canadian. And yeah, you know what? I think for like a one-of-one item, and it's somewhat of a mild key, again, given it's the first full Lilith story, basically. I think that's a great deal. I think over time, this might be pretty hard to sell on the way out. When I do plan to sell it, which is probably not for like over 10 years, I would say. I'm definitely going to hold on to this one. Yeah, and so maybe a little bit harder to sell on the way out because of it's not Spider-Man, it's not Star Wars, it's not going to pop up in search results and just have that huge cult following. But as far as a collection item and a one-of-one collection item, I think eventually it will sell. And yeah, being that I got it for $290 US, I could totally imagine it selling for a lot more. Yeah, in that sort of 5 to 10 year range. Yeah, books in the 70s, there are not a lot of available 9.8s from books in the 70s, especially like pre-1975. This one being 1974, a 9.8 white pages. There's just not very many books that are 9.8 white pages from pre-1975. So that in itself is kind of a cool thing. Yeah, plus, you're getting a minor key. And yeah, it was just, I think, almost like the perfect issue that I could have asked for when I was thinking of adding something unique to my collection. Just because, being only $290, it didn't, completely break the bank. Although, it's not super cheap, but still not really expensive or anything like that. And to get a one-of-one collection item, I just think it's so cool. And yeah, I think that one of the great things about this issue is just kind of like the pride of ownership. It's really cool just to know that you have a one-of-one item, and looking at it, it really is, I'm pretty sure with this issue, because I bought it at Doug Salipa's Comic World, I'm pretty sure he purchased this in the 70s himself, because he has a whole warehouse. He's been collecting comics for 30, 40, 50 years, I believe. He has a whole warehouse full of his comics, and I'm pretty sure he bought this originally, had it stored away for a really long time, and ended up getting it, CGC graded maybe last year or the year before, and yeah, I was lucky enough to find it on his store, because I'm almost positive he didn't purchase this. I think he had it within his store, especially how he was talking about it. And he also had Vampire Tales 1 in the CGC 9.8. When I bought this, he had told me that on the phone, and that sold pretty quick, he said. So yeah, you know what, as far as a unique item, and pretty cool cover too, I think, sort of wild card with this issue is, if there is ever a Lilith movie, which I could totally see that happening at some point. Some point down the line, and I'm not saying in the next couple of years, but 5, 10, 15 years, especially how they're pushing female superheroes so much, it makes really good sense to have a female Dracula movie or something like that. So, that's kind of a wild card, maybe a new Lilith movie comes out, and then at that point I feel like I would be pretty tempted to try to sell this for maybe 1 or 2 times the amount I paid for it. I paid $290, and I could see if a Lilith movie came out or whatever, I could see this maybe being $800 or $900 US, just to try to get someone to bite on it. But yeah, most likely I will hold this for 10 or 20 years. But yeah, so happy I was able to pick something up like this, and such a unique item. And yeah, like I said, as far as wanting something different to add to my collection that's non-superheroes, I thought this was great. Great buy. And yeah, like looking on eBay in the last little bit for like one-of-ones, I've seen a couple of, there's Mad magazines from the 70s, and this is a magazine size as well, so a little bit tricky to store it. Kind of have a unique way of storing it, but because it doesn't fit in like normal CGC boxes. But there are, yeah, a few Mad magazines I saw that are one-of-ones that are on the internet for like $300-ish. But the covers aren't very appealing, and like personally I didn't want to go with that. But yeah, with this issue being sort of a minor key with the Lilith appearance is I think a really cool buy. And yeah, I mean, the CGC ratio on it's 3.4%. There's only one. I think there was like 29 or 30 graded out of all these books. Only one 9.8. This is it. So happy to have it. And yeah, it's really happy I could share it with you guys. Kind of a different video today. Something non-superhero, but equally as cool. And yeah, if you're really into vampires and stuff, this is actually like, I think, a really cool kind of limited series. Obviously, there's like Tomb of Dracula. And out of that series, I know there's like First Appearance of Blade, which is a really sought after book. I think that's number 7 or 8 of Tomb of Dracula. But besides Tomb of Dracula, if you're really into like vampires and stuff, this Vampire Tales, it was kind of like a limited series, I believe. I think there was maybe 15 issues of it. I can't remember exactly. But really cool alternative, I would say, to Tomb of Dracula. And certainly lesser known in its magazine size, so that's a little bit probably going to turn off some collectors. Personally, I know some collectors that don't like buying magazine-sized books. But yeah, I think as a one-of-one book, I think I got pretty lucky last year being able to purchase this for like about $300 US. Yeah, so you know what? I'd kind of recommend adding something like this to your collection because, obviously we love superheroes, and Spider-Man, Batman, Star Wars are what usually I generally stick to. But yeah, this is something that you can pick up for a decent price. That's so rare, so hard to find. And again, like the pride of ownership is just so cool. It's probably like the one, or in my top 5 books that I just take out and go, yeah, awesome, and just hold it because it is so rare, and a one-of-one. It's really cool to have that in the collection. So yeah, thanks so much for watching the video today, guys. I got a lot more of my collection here, and a lot more video ideas and titles. I got a whole bunch of ideas, so expect more content coming. I'm gonna attempt to do kind of 5 videos a week, and maybe even do more than that, but sometimes maybe a little less. But my goal is kind of 5 for right now. And yeah, again, more comics to share with you guys. So thanks so much for tuning in today. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you on the next video.